Welcome to CXO, where we talk to leaders in business and technology and look at how technology is changing our lives. Technology is getting into everything we do, and this is where you get to know what's going on. Today in studio, I have April Oichoe. April, karibu.
Asante sana.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I am good. I finally have my voice back, so that's a good.
I know how you got your voice back.
No.
I do.
No.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell everyone?
No.
Yeah. So April, tell us about yourself. What do you do?
I'm a cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity consultant, cybersecurity professional, whichever way you want to look at it. So right now I'm wearing many hats. I'm the managing director at Infosphere Limited, which is a cybersecurity company in Nairobi. So we started in 2016. Of course, like any startup, we've had,
That's
it's
how
been,
business is.
It's been a very interesting journey, especially a cybersecurity company led by a woman. By the time I started,
And congratulations.
Thank you. It was very interesting because, people would look at me and ask me, are you sure you're the managing director of this company? And I'm like, yes, I am.
But tell me, how did you start? How did you get to MD of Infosphere?
Okay. So when I started studying cybersecurity, which is way back in 2010, that was a new concept, at least in Kenya at the time. So in my mind, I was like, okay, so this is pretty new. So I'll go study and come back and start a company someday. So I go to the UK, I do my master's in cybersecurity, and I come back and I work for SRS. Costa Rica, I think you remember Costa.
Yeah, Costa Rica, yeah.
Yeah, Costa is
security something.
Security risk solution.
Yes.
So that's where I started. Yeah. So I remember I wrote to Costa from the UK. Actually, I called him. And I told him I've been looking for cybersecurity companies in Kenya to come and work with, and I only found this. So I'm coming to work with you. And he laughed. And it's like, okay, when you come, just come straight to the office and let's have a conversation.
Let's start working.
Yeah, and for sure, I went straight to the office. I never got to see Costa, at the reception. I was like, no, do you have an appointment? Eventually, I got to meet Costa. And eventually, I got to work for SRS. So anyway, in 2015, SRS won. And so I find myself with the clients that I was handling on my hands, and they're like, we'd like you to continue. However, you need to have a registered business. So I'm like, I wasn't planning to start this now. But well, here's the opportunity. So I had to register the company very quickly.
Okay.
Yes, very.
So technically, you're thrown into the deep end.
Yes, I was thrown into the deep end.
You're working for this company. Then it winds down,
yes.
and your customers come to you and like, we want you to continue servicing.
Yes.
But now
you need to be an company, and so
interesting.
Yeah, and so that's how Infosphere started prematurely, but we started, which is a good thing. I'm happy about that.
Wow.
So we were thrown into the deep end. So I spoke with my best friend, Renee Makamba. We'd been talking about this, how starting this company for a really long time. And a guy called Yoni Mutai, who was also in SRS, and that's how Infosphere was born. So we had some clients to start with. Thank God we didn't start looking for customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that continued for a while. But then since I was the managing director sometime in 2018, and Infosphere continued to get work even through 2020, which is a good thing. And we've considered, we are even looking to expand. So let me just talk a bit about what we do. So
yeah, before you even get there, because you see, it's good to see you at the helm of this business, and especially as a woman, and not just a woman in tech, a woman in cybersecurity. That's a deeper specialization. Yeah. So it's, I think it would be fair if you told people, why did you choose cybersecurity?
Okay, my journey.
Yes. Why did you choose cybersecurity? Why not just
I didn't choose it. It chose me.
It chose you.
Yes. I didn't choose it. So initially, I was actually going to do aeronautical engineering.
All right.
That was my initial career choice. So I went to African Nazarene University and I did computer science. And during one of my semesters, I met Dr. Biga.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Biga was teaching us distributed systems. And distributed systems, I discovered we were only 2 females in that class, the rest of guys. Anyway, that has been the story of my life. Even for my master's program for the security networking course, we were 64 in total. There were 4 females in the whole class.
Wow.
So yeah, it's that has been the story of my life. But anyway, so in this distributed systems class, we were 2 females. But anyway, so the Dr. Biga comes, and he was this very interesting professor, very old man who used to work with NASA American NASA. So he used to come to class. He has no notes, he will not write notes. So the first time we're all listening to him, he's talking, we are thinking it's stories. He's giving us stories about how his son woke up in California, was developing this programming language. And in school, no one is writing notes. So we're in class, no one is writing notes, and then he tells us, okay, so the first cut is going to come from chapter 1 to 4 of this big fat book. I still have it. So we open chapter 1. The topic is clocks. No one read chapter 1. I can assure you. Skip chapter 2, 3, 4. Guess where the cut came from?
Clocks.
Chapter 1.
Came from the clocks.
Clocks and registers. Clocks. I'm telling you, we failed. The whole class failed. Then the second cut, he told us, if you fail this cut and you fail the third one, please drop the unit because you will not pass. So remember, this guy does not write notes. So in his stories, you have to deduce what the notes are and write. Okay. So eventually we picked, we got to understand his teaching style and So after our third cut, he came back and gave papers. The Kenyan teachers, how they do. They start with the top marks. Yeah. And then they go and they hold your paper. You have... So this is the third one. So the second one, I performed really well. The third one, he gave away all the papers and he's not giving my paper. And then he's like, who's this person? So he didn't have our names in his head. So he said, who is April Oichoe? Can you see me after class? And I was like, that class, for sure, I didn't listen. I was like, okay, I'm being discontinued. And for sure, I cannot do any business course. Me and business, we're like water and oil. So I was like, I'm going to do Greek from theology. And I was like, surely, that's the only option I have. Because I opted to do all computer science units. Yeah, instead of doing business. Yeah. So I was like, if I can't do this one, I'm going to do Greek. There's no other option. So anyway, so he calls me and he tells me, I've noticed a consistency with how you think. Have you thought about getting into cybersecurity? I think you'd be a very good candidate for this. And I asked him, what's that? This was way back in 2006.
So that's where now the turn into cybersecurity. Interesting.
So he took me through what cybersecurity is, and I'm like, that's very interesting. I think I would actually love to do that. Yeah, so he tried to get me into Johns Hopkins University. At the time, I think it was more or less free to study cybersecurity. But at the time I wanted to get in, I think the American government realized, hey, there's too many takers. A lot of people want to do this. So it became strictly for citizens. So I was locked out of that. And that was really expensive. So it took me 3 years up to 2010 to actually now do a master's in cybersecurity in the UK.
Excellent. Yeah. So tell me, so you've looked at, from school, doing cybersecurity in school and doing all your stuff, doing your master's in cybersecurity. How do you see the cybersecurity landscape in Africa?
I can say we really grew. We have grown from 2012 when I came back to Kenya, when I'm applying for a job. Well, that's another story. So before I got into SRS, you remember I told you first I went to the reception and I was stopped. So I couldn't see Costa. Yeah. So I was like, okay, now, so I'm looking for jobs and everything. And then I present my certificate and guys are like, oh, it's actually a specific course in cybersecurity. It was new, relatively new at the time. And so you're telling people that you're in cybersecurity, you've done a course in cybersecurity, and they're like, what? What's that? So it was a foreign concept, more of a foreign concept than it was common at the time.
Yes.
And so I can see with the aid of organizations like yours, where now there's a lot of engagement and a lot of discussion about protecting your information on the cyberspace, it has become more, and I can see a lot of students are now picking up this. So there are very many more people who have come into the space. So when it comes to work, I can also say that a lot of international organizations have played a key role in bringing cybersecurity in Africa to fruition and to realization. And we've worked a lot with a lot of international companies and foreign companies, and you can see it took me people like Costa and them who actually came and started a security company here. And I can tell you for a fact that Costa and Jason and the team trained a lot of people who we now have in Safaricom, Kenya Airways. A lot of them passed through SRS, really, and a lot of people who are holding a lot of cybersecurity big positions now in this country passed through SRS.
Because SRS was like one of the very first companies
yes.
to deal directly, specifically on cybersecurity. Yeah.
So I can say they grilled and they churned out a lot of industry experts that we have in Kenya right now. But yes, we have grown and we are still growing. I can't say we are where the rest was, because by the time this was becoming a concept to us, the West had been doing this for 20, 25, 30 years. But right now we've been pushed and we've been forced into cybersecurity because, as you started, you said technology has become a part of our lives, everyday lives. In 1950, you would choose when to bring in technology. Right now, you wake up in the morning, you get into the lift, these new apartments of ours, and there's music and there's all that stuff. You get into your car, and if your husband was driving, for those who are married, your husband or your wife was driving it yesterday, and you sit, the car automatically adjusts. And that's all technology. So technology has become such a part of life. People are going exercising, people are doing whatever it is, and your applications are just keeping track of your data. So we are living in an age of liquid information. So information has become so much. Information has become such a huge part of us, or a technology, that we cannot avoid getting into the space of information security and privacy and talking about it. Because the fact of the matter is that our private space has been invaded by technology, and that's a fact, and it's going nowhere. So we have to talk about how do we secure our information in this cyberspace. Because we have to adapt. There's no going back. We have to adapt and we have to adjust. And that has propelled the discussion in industry and both academia in Africa in terms of cybersecurity.
But how do we, because you see, I always tell guys, you have the good guys and the bad guys, right? So versus the bad guys, how are we doing in Africa?
We are doing badly.
Okay.
I'll say we are doing badly. You know why? Because, and it's not just in Africa, because this will always be a game of catch-up. Last week during the conference, we said that the bad guys think in graphs.
Yeah, they think in graphs.
And we think in lists.
Correct.
Now, this is another thing. These guys are always out there looking for, there's actually a whole economy funding these guys to determine or to discover loopholes in any new application that comes out, in any new operating system, in any new product. They are funded to actually find the loopholes. Why? Because the whole thing, everything, the thing that we are trading here is basically information, bottom line. So whichever organization you look at, be it a healthcare facility, be it an insurance company, be it a bank, be it a hospital, we are all dealing with information of one kind or another. And over the years, we have seen that the playground has moved from corporate information, I'll get into that in a bit, has moved from what we see as corporate information into more personal information. And the reason is simple, what we're just talking about. The bank's corporate information is your personal information.
Correct.
The hospital's corporate information is your personal information. So personal information is forms largely maybe 90% of the information that organizations build their services and products on. And because of that, now the playing field has changed. So these guys, any new product that's coming, any new system that's coming, they must look for the loopholes. Now, what are we doing as organizations? Sitting for hours on end, strategizing until when? So we are busy, meetings, strategizing on how to combat the bad guys, while they are actively involved in implementation. They're actively involved in operationalizing their thoughts while we are still strategizing. So we'll never catch up. We need to get to a point where we're like Michael said last week, we need to stop we need to ethically be the good guys, act like the good guys, but our ethics needs to end there. When it comes to thinking, we need to start thinking like the bad guys.
Yeah.
So any new application you're churning or any new products that you are developing to get out into the market, you need to think like the bad guys. You are going to do all the tests.
It's like what the old adage says, if get a thief to catch a thief.
Yes, set a thief to catch a thief.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You have to think like a thief and act like a thief. So if you're developing a product, make sure you expose that product to every possible test that you can think. Because so that by the time it's out in the market, I know we're in the age of agile and all that stuff. We want to get everything out fast. But we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Because at the end of the day, and it's just, I don't know whether it's convenient or it's providence, that in Africa we are not required to actually expose ourselves or to what's the correct term? We are not required to basically say if we have been breached, like in the West. If we were actually required to do that, a lot of organizations would do things right. They actually take their time developing their products. But because we are not bound legally or by regulation to do that, then
isn't there a regulation that actually compounds people to disclose?
No, to disclose, no.
No.
At least in Kenya, not that I know of.
Okay.
No. Because if the news would be hot. Okay. For sure.
Yeah.
But because there's none, one thing that does, and I think that's a really good thing, and maybe it should be adapted. One thing that does is to ensure that there is due diligence and due care when it comes to cybersecurity and privacy in this organization. So people actually put in the effort and put in the work to ensure that the security requirements all round across the organization are actually looked into and are actually effectively implemented. Without that right now, there's a lot of shortcuts. Let's accept it. We are, Bruce Schneier, he's one of my favorite cybersecurity professors. He's a professor in Cambridge right now. He says security is both a feeling and a reality, and the two are not the same. And that's true. So I can feel secure.
Yeah.
But am I
There's
really
an
secure?
emotional part of it.
There's an emotional part of it.
Yeah.
So I'll go to my house and I'll close all my doors because I know in my house I'm secure, in my mind. Until the burglar comes in. Just that small loophole. Maybe I left something, just a small gap, or I left a window open, that gave this guy access. So there's the reality of security and there's the feeling of security.
Yeah.
And that's what guided my PhD study, because I was like, we are really here busy studying the reality of security. Tech. Tech will always work as it's configured to work if people do it the right way.
So tell me about skills. Do we have enough skills to protect the organizations that we're in?
That's a very hot. There's a very hot debate going on about that. Some people say we have enough skills. I do not think we have enough skills. At least from cybersecurity is very diverse. Okay, let's start there. There's so many areas of cybersecurity that someone can specialize in.
Yeah.
But I'll say that I do not believe, and Isaka did a review of this, And they questioned a lot of CIOs and CISOs and company executives and asked them, do you think you have enough skills, cybersecurity skills, or the right skill sets, in your organization to defend your organization against crime? And it was 62% or 68% of company executives felt that they did. And that's a global study. It's a global study. Okay. So how about in Africa, where we are still, we don't even have, we don't have, at least in Kenya, I don't know of any university that is doing cybersecurity specifically as a course. I know it's included in computer science as units. I don't know of any, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any where we have cybersecurity specifically as a course, such that you don't have to go the long way that I did, where I had to go computer science and then go cybersecurity. It has its advantages, of course. But then, and this is where academia now needs to change. We need to change our university courses to meet the present market needs. So you'll find that because it's a course that's incorporated into computer science, into the computer science program, you don't, when the students are coming out now into the real world, things are totally different. And our universities,
there's a discrepancy between,
between
what is taught and what the industry actually requires.
And then the university does not even give them enough space or enough enough tools to practice on actual real life situations and experiences.
So April, tell me, we're talking now about businesses being ready, or at least maybe not ready, but prepared. Yeah. So what are the 2 or 3 things that businesses need to do to have cyber resilience, so to speak?
Okay, I think the first thing that organizations need to do is what we are talking about. Have the right skill set, because cybersecurity, particularly when it comes to the technical aspect of it, you need to have, there's no 2 ways about it. You have to get people who understand, because all businesses have come onto the cyberspace. We are on the cyberspace. So the reality is that we need to get skilled professionals, and there are different ways. Organizations can actually pay to upskill their present employees, and I think that's the easiest way that they can do that, because trying to find these people out of industry, as we were talking about, it may be a bit difficult and may take them longer. Another thing is visibility into security posture. I don't think a lot of organizations have visibility on their security posture. And this is because, again, a lot of organizations cannot measure their security risk effectively. I can tell you this because I have helped so many organizations do risk assessments. And I can tell you our risk assessments are very subjective and not the reality.
So and why is that? Is it because of skills? Because they don't know what to look for? Why?
It's partly because of that, and because organizations do not have a proper security measurement and metrics program. And that is because many organizations do not have a functional information security program. So first we need to have a functional information security program. Then in the information security program, we need to have an effective security measurement and metrics program. Because how do you measure the effectiveness of your security program? If you do not have a metrics program, you have to measure to be able to tell that you're actually going in the right way.
Correct.
And the problem is that, yes, there's a skill set issue there. And then also, information is very intangible. A lot of organizations don't know where do we start and how do we start measuring information risk. Yeah, and so it has become very subjective. Our risk assessments are very qualitative, which makes the boards very dissatisfied, because the board, okay, so here is the CIO and the CISO. They go to the board and they're like, we need a cybersecurity budget. And they're like, okay, so what is our risk? Which you can't explain.
Yeah.
You can't explain it because you can't measure your security posture.
Correct.
So
So it becomes difficult for you to defend that, whatever budget you're asking for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So the first thing I think organizations need to get up to speed with is find out, how do we implement a proper information security program? And the easiest way I can advise is through frameworks. We can do it in an ad hoc fashion, or you can have a framework to guide you. And this is what I was doing with IKEA, actually, which was a very interesting engagement when I was consulting with IKEA in the cyber assurance team.
Yeah, yeah.
So we came up with what we called Catalogen, which is the Information Security Controls Catalog, which was under the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. So they chose to go with the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. And I can understand why, because the NIST Cybersecurity Framework is good because it gives you basically the overview on how to develop your information security program. And then it works with the NIST 853 controls, which is a whole list of around 1,200 security controls that you can implement across the 5 different functions of the cybersecurity framework. And then it also gives you a mechanism where you can measure the effectiveness of your security program and the effectiveness of your controls. So there's another standard, the NIST 853A, which guides you on measurement. So for IKEA, that became easy because everything tied, you know. Other organizations, I know in Kenya, the ISO 27001, which I've helped so many organizations implement, is also another framework that you can use.
And I think that's the most popular
That's
here.
the most popular here.
Yeah.
And I think that's why even government has put a lot of emphasis on, you guys need to be ISO 27001 certified, or you guys need to implement a standard. It just makes it easy for an organization to implement security. And I don't know why organizations haven't done that yet up to now.
We'll ask them.
Yes, we need to ask them.
Yeah.
Because this implementing security in an ad hoc fashion even makes it hard for you to measure. So what are you measuring? But if you are guided by a framework and certain standards and guidelines, then you find it easier to actually implement your information security program and easier to start having visibility. Well, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Visibility is a whole other topic without data analytics.
Yeah. Because now when you go into visibility, now you go to discovery and all that stuff.
Yes. So you need to get your data, you need to extract your data, you need to find out, what your events look like, what your security incidents look like, etc. And then you have to analyze the data. So there's a whole other area on cyber analytics.
Okay, so to close, where do you see this whole cybersecurity, cyber resilience, and the entire threat landscape? Where do you see it going? Because you see, sometimes it feels like the more we get sophisticated, the more bigger attacks are coming. So
That's true.
in like a minute, where do you see this going?
The threat landscape grows exponentially. That's a fact. The more people we have getting onto the internet, the more exposed we are. Right now, more than half...
Should we shut down the internet?
No, it can't happen.
Okay.
Tumepitwa na wakati. Let me just say that. It can't happen. We can't go backwards. So we have to move forward. So the thing, we have to accept where we are, and we have to put in the measures which we are talking about now to protect ourselves on the cyberspace. And that has to be all across, government, organizations, individuals. Everyone has to come to speed. This cybersecurity and information security should be a word that is even understood by those mamas who are selling boga in Marikiti and who are giving their daughters their M-Pesa pins, Nitole hizi pesa, These are terms that should actually be understood. It may take a while, but that's the only way.
So awareness.
Okay. That has to be done.
Okay.
Awareness, and then we have to protect ourselves, because remember, we go back to cybersecurity. Security is both a feeling and a reality, and the two are not the same. We have to deal with the feeling aspect of it as we are dealing with the reality aspect of it. If we leave one, then we'll be dealing with one case of cybersecurity and leaving the other. and that's what I'm focusing on, again, as I mentioned, on my PhD. I'm dealing with the human aspect of cybersecurity. Because you can't have visibility into your security posture if you ignore the human aspect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I ask all my guests, what is this one thing that nobody knows about April?
That's a very interesting question. One thing that nobody.
Nobody. It's just you.
I don't think I talk a lot, so I don't think there's anything that
There must be one thing.
No, even those secrets of the heart. Even those, as my best friend knows. So I don't think there's any one particular thing that someone doesn't know about me. Apana, akuna.
Does everybody know that you sing?
No, but people know that I sing, but not everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
April, thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much
truly
for
appreciate
having me.
and all the best in your business.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you're doing and keep inspiring people and especially women into cybersecurity.
Thank you so much.
Asante.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that's it, guys. Thank you.